Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Night Live on March 6th, 2022. It's my son's birthday today. He's 10 years old. Happy birthday to my son, Sam. Some of you will have seen the picture I posted up on Facebook. If you follow me there, you'll see that. But yeah, so it's been a very busy day today and a busy week kind of leading up to it, getting ready for that. Pretty kind of monumental occasion in the life of the Lipsham family. I now have two kids that are both over the age of 10, so that's something, I guess. Some of you will kind of have already experienced that before, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But so that there's that, and it's been a great day. We've had family, we've had friends around here, so I've spent quite a lot of time clearing up. But it was a great time had by everybody. So lots of celebration, and Sam got lots of very, very cool gifts. Some of which I did not even know about that he was getting. But so they were as much a surprise to me as they were to him. But it was lots of fun. Anyway, hello everybody. And I can see from the chat that I think John Hawk was first in the room, I think. Certainly looks like it. It might have been Rich, actually, because I think I saw Rich jump in the chat really super duper early. But the timestamp for that's been removed, so maybe he removed his post. But anyway, hello everybody. John is here. Billy Morgan is here. Tony Stringer. Marcos over in Brazil is here. Ronald Figura. Hello. Kyle Drajuziak is here. And one of my faithful, awesome moderators, Just Bob, is here. Michael at Music to Motion is also here. He's another one of my awesome mods. Let's see. Kevin's Guitar Stories is here. Alps Media is here as well. Louis, my good friend and one of my sponsors, which is awesome. He is here. Paul Morgan is here. And let's see. Don Oliver is here. Who else do we have here? Ken Moss, one of my other mods, is here. And Tony has the first question of the evening, which we'll get to in just a minute. Endless Meese is here as well. Awesome. He says, yo. Let's see. Who else? I think that's it. I think we are down to the bottom of the list. If you are watching and you have not said hello in the chat, then please do. It's one of the things I like to do is call everybody out. Whilst we have a small gathering, and I just see that Dave from Bops NY is here as well. And Peter Brooks has just said, me. Let's see. Yeah, if you are here and you are watching and you have never posted in the chat before, please do. I know that there are a few people that watch that don't really, contribute. They don't really ask any questions. They're just here to watch, and that's fine. That's great. I appreciate every single one of you that either watches the show now live or they catch it on replay, because I know there's a lot of you for whom this time of the day just doesn't really work. It shouldn't work for me. It's midnight here. It's 10 past midnight, actually, here in Scotland. But I am crazy. So I make sure that I stay up until midnight to talk to you guys. But I know that there are folks in Europe and further east of here for whom this time zone doesn't really, this time for the show doesn't really work. So most of my guests here, most of the folks watching are in the United States, or they're in Brazil, or they're in the Philippines. One person I really, really miss is Thomas over in the Philippines, because he would always be here, and his absence is definitely very noticed today, for sure, and it's going to take some getting used to, I have to tell you. Who else is here? Brad R is here, and who else did I see drop in that I have not mentioned? I think I've got everybody. Dwayne is here. He says, I'm here. Awesome. So yeah, if you don't normally regularly post something in the chat, then please do. These guys are very friendly. They are very nice. They're very kind. And even if I'm kind of in the midst of talking, or I'm demonstrating something, they will help you. If you have a question, they can certainly help go towards answering you. And my mods will take care of you as well, because they are cool. That's funny, Dave. So that's that. If you've got a question that you would like to ask, a burning question about Studio One, oh, I whistled, about Studio One, about songwriting, about composing, arranging, music theory, and I know that there is at least one music theory question in the chat tonight, which is cool, which I'm very happy about. I will get to that as well. Hang on just a moment. There is something I need to take care of. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. That had to be done. But that's okay. So we got 17 or so likes. No, 17 people watching and kind of about 11 likes. So, okay, we got a small crowd. And Bobby Ziegler is here. He says, greetings from Central PA. Awesome. Good to see you, Ziggy. It's always nice to have you here and everybody else, which is great. So, yeah, as I say, get your questions in. And I will do my level best to answer them. Because that's what this show is here for. This show is for your questions. And also, whilst we're on the subject, if you have a particularly large-scale question, a broad question, that you would like maybe for me to devote kind of a show to, so like a larger topic, please do email me. If you go to the website address at the bottom, just below my finger, there... See that there? JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk. Go there. Go to the bottom of the page. There is a contact form there. Fill that out. Ouch. Punch the mic. Fill that out and drop me an email and let me know what that question is. And I will research it and we will devote a show to it. In most cases, in a lot of cases, I won't need to research, but if I need to look something up, then you are well able to give me time to do that by dropping me an email. That will help. Hello to all that were not here for my first hello. Awesome. Says Alps. That's cool. Alrighty, so let's go and take a look at that very first question that we had. I have to go find it. Is there a way, this is Tony Stringer asking this question. He says, is there a way to change key on the keyboard in the inserts in Studio One? So I play C and it records A. So what you want to do is you want to turn your keyboard into a transposing instrument, essentially, I think is what you are saying. There are a couple of things you can do. The thing with what you're suggesting is if you're playing in the key of C because you're kind of maybe not so comfortable playing in the key of A, the thing with that is it can work out to be a little bit complicated, but this is definitely doable. So there's a couple of things you can do. One of those, if I just go into Studio One, which I'm just going to show you in just a second. And if I grab presence and bring that in, and we'll go screen. There you go. So, if I call up one of the pianos, I'm going to use the Persona Studio Grand because I've not used this in quite a while. Grand piano with condenser mics. This is the full size Persona Studio Grand. There is one that comes with Studio One inside a Presence, which is kind of a little bit bare bones basic, but it's the same piano that was sampled to make the Persona Studio Grand, which you can purchase from Persona Shop. If you are a member of Persona Sphere, you get this. So you can just go and download and install the whole thing, and you get all of these recordings with these different mics, which is cool. And then you can play with all of these settings here. Alright, so there's no reverb on there. Let's stick some reverb on. There we go. control off some of the low end here. There we go. All right, so you want to be able to record something and have it play a different note. So the thing to do here, can you do it in here? No, you can't do it in there. Okay, so what you can do is you can do it in the instrument itself, I believe. Let's see, can you do it in here? Can you change the transposition as you are playing? I'm not seeing anywhere that you can. This one here, this is a volume control, and then you've got this is your velocity. And then you've got this glide, which is great for synth sounds, not so great for piano. You can adjust the global tuning here. So at the moment it's set to 440, which is what it should be. There are some people that think that 432 is way better than 440 because it has some kind of resonancy thingy that does interesting things. Oh, look, there's a transpose knob. So if I want to make this C into an A, so I'm pressing this C here, and here's the equivalent sound on the Nord. All right, so if I transpose this down 3, let's see what we get. Now it's an A. Whoops. So if I play a C major chord here, and an A major chord here, they are the same. So I can play now I'm going to play the bass part in on the Nord in A, and I'm going to play the chords in C, which you can't really see. Hang on, let me turn the webcam on, that might help. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to play the bass part here in A, and I'm going to play in C over here. Hang on, let's see if I can do this. This is hard. Yeah, that was a bit of a mental challenge, but yes, to answer your question, you can certainly do that. You can change the little transpose knob right here. All you need to do is just shift it down 3 semitones, and when you play a C chord, it's an A chord in reality. All right, so I hope that helps. Oh, and you couldn't see any of that. I just realized the webcam didn't turn on. I don't know why it didn't, but there we go. I fixed it. So here's an A chord, and here's a C chord, except it's an A chord because I've got the transpose going. All right, so I hope that answers that question. That is a great little question, actually, to be honest. I'm just going to go and fix that so that I don't forget to fix it later. There we go. So now everything should be restored to normal. Okay, let's go back up and let's have a look at the next question. John says, evening, can you go into secondary dominants just a little more? Secondary dominants are a huge subject, and I think I kind of mentioned that last time, that secondary dominants are a pretty huge question, because they're quite complicated to explain. But essentially, A secondary dominant is any chord that has the dominant function over another chord that is not the tonic of the song. For example, in the key of C major, the dominant is G7. So if in that tonality the A7 chord appears, that chord would be a secondary dominant. So if you're in the key of C and you would see an A7 chord, that would be a secondary dominant. So one way in which this might work is if you're in the key of C here and you see this chord, A7, that is going to lead to D minor in the key of C. So a secondary dominant would be A7 here, because it's a dominant chord, has the function of a dominant chord, i.e. it's a 5, but it wants to go to D major or to D minor. Okay, but seeing as we're in C, that's how the A7 would function. Another example might be let's say you're in D, okay, and you see a G7 come on, which is chord 4 in the key of D. So, and you saw this. Now, in a blues context, that would be fine, because, you know, you'd be... Right, so that would, dominants in a blues context have a different function. They may well technically be secondary dominants, but they're not. All right, so this is a great little thing to take a look at. Simplifyingtheory.com. I recommend this. I've looked at this a fair few times, and I think this is really, really helpful. Okay, so essentially you're borrowing 5 chords to go somewhere else. And actually there's a whole application section here. So like E7, A7, D7, G7, C. So let's try that little set of chord changes out. So E7. So that's basically 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. Tritonal substitution going on there, but that's essentially how secondary dominants work. So check this little site out here, simplifyingtheory.com. You'll find that there's actually quite a lot of really good questions here, and there's some PDFs, some guitar tabs and other sheet music and stuff there as well. So if you want to check that out, I recommend this for questions like that. It's pretty up to date. And it's actually pretty they explain things in pretty easy to understand ways. All right, so well worth checking out. So that's that question. I'm going to go further down and see what we have. Sue Squirrel says, someone asked for help exporting tracks from Studio One Prime. They wanted to send to Mix Engineer on another DAW, but when I try, the tracks with empty spaces collapse. What do you mean by the tracks with empty spaces collapse? I'm not sure what that means. Not sure what you mean by collapse. So could you kind of unpack what you mean a little bit there by empty spaces collapse? Don says, today I opened Studio One 5 and the arrow key and range key were gone. The arrow was operating with mouse. Also, my macros were gone. Any ideas what to do? If the arrow key is gone from Studio One, you mean over here? Let's go and show the screen. Here we go. You mean up here? These were gone, and you said what was the other thing you said there? The arrow was operating with mouse. Also, my macros were gone. So, if you open the macro toolbar here, you should see all of the macros. And if you've created a toolbar, they should all be here. If you've created your own toolbar, it sounds to me like your settings files have been deleted somehow. And when that happens, custom things like macro toolbars, any custom plugin configurations, and some presets you might find disappear when that settings file. And what I mean by that is this. If you go to help, and if you go to open settings folder. Now, if this folder here, if everything in here has been deleted, then anything that's like this here, user.color scheme, that's the color scheme that I have set up, personally configured for Studio One. That if all of this has been deleted, then what will happen is when you next start Studio One, it will start with just the default black kind of dark color scheme, and you may well find that any of your settings in the audio batch converter, or this one here, plugin presentation.settings. This one here is where all of your custom presets for Studio One for plugins is stored. It's in this settings file here. When you clear out this folder, and sometimes it's necessary to do this, sometimes this contents of this folder can get corrupted. And when that happens, you need to get rid of everything in here apart from this folder and your user.license file, if that is in here. In my case, the user.license file is not in here. But you might find that it is. If it's in here, don't delete it. Just leave this folder and the user.license folder and delete everything else, and then restart Studio One. And what will happen is Studio One will repopulate this entire folder with new default settings. All right, so sometimes it's necessary to do that, but it sounds like in your case that might have happened. In which case, what you might need to do, if that's the case, I mean, you can open that folder and you can check. So if you go to help and go to, where is it? Open settings folder. Open this folder and check and see what's in here. Look for anything that you have personally configured, like user.color scheme. So if you have created a custom color scheme that you've saved as a preset, then this little settings file here will be here. And by this way, you'll know that this is your personalized, modified settings folder. But if this is not there, then you know that this has just been repopulated with new default settings. So go and check in here and see what's happened there. But also, it could be, if like some of these tools are not showing up, it could be a screen resolution thing. It could be so it could be a problem with the screen resolution. It could also be a graphics drawing problem, in which case what you might want to do is uninstall and reinstall Studio One, and then also check your graphics card driver is up to date. It might be that it's fallen out of step, and you just want to go to the graphics card driver manufacturer and just download the most up-to-date driver for your operating system and for your motherboard. Okay, so do those and see what happens. Restart your computer, restart Studio One, and see what comes back. All right, so I hope that helps, because that's a tough situation. And the answer to that is not necessarily completely straightforward. It could be several different things that are causing what you're seeing. So the other thing to do is make a support ticket if you haven't already. Make a support ticket and work with the guys in support. do whatever they ask you to do, because, you know, this is something that will need to go through a process of troubleshooting, a process of elimination. And a little bit of detective work will be necessary to try and figure out what's gone on. So I hope that that helps you, Don. Sorry, I can't be, you know, more specific about it than that. I think Secret Score had a follow-up for me. Yes, he does. Empty spaces equals audio on track 1 starts at bar X. Track 2 starts at bar Y. Track 3 starts at bar X. Every track not beginning at bar 1 is exported as though they do begin on bar 1. Oh, right. So what you mean is everything is out of sync. That shouldn't happen. Although, here's the thing to do. It might be that Ripple Edit was on when the tracks were created for export. And so the thing to do is to export stems. Rather than just export the song, export the stems. And what that will do is that will render everything from bar 1, including any gaps there are. So, you know, if you have a song where the acoustic guitar and the vocal is on its own for the first verse, and then the bass comes in and with the drums, and they come in for you know, the chorus or something, and then they're in for most of the song, and then you've got the last verse or the last chorus, which is just guitar and vocal. When you do export stems, it should export everything from bar 1, from, you know, the very beginning, bar 1, bar 0, whatever you want to call it, and it should export all the way through each one of those stems. It creates a full length render of each of your stems, is what it does. So that should do that, hopefully. Ken asks, do you recommend backing up copies of anything in the settings folder in case of corruption, or is it just regenerated by starting up Studio One? Yeah, when you delete everything from the settings folder, the best thing to do is create a new folder on your desktop and call it Settings Files Backup. Then copy everything that is in that folder to your backup folder, and then delete everything from the original folder, as I said, apart from the license file and the extensions folder, and then restart Studio One, and it should populate with a new bunch of settings that are not corrupted. And you know, if you had like any issue with crashing or freezing or something like that, or a Studio One plugin or a Studio One instrument misbehaving, one of the first things I would recommend you do is do that procedure. Copy all your settings files onto a backup folder on your desktop. Delete everything apart from user license if it's there. If it's not, don't worry. And the extensions folder, leave that there. And then restart Studio One. Everything will be populated back as default, so any custom things will be gone, okay? But you've got your backup folder, and you can pull in one of your custom settings if you need to, like the plugin presentation.settings folder, file, which has all your third-party plugin presets or any custom presets or effects changes that you've made. Those are all in that file. So you can bring that back in, and maybe your color scheme, you can bring that in, which is the user.color settings. I think it's a settings file. Anyway, user.color scheme, I think is what it's called. You can bring that back in as well. Close Studio One, restart it, and if it doesn't crash and if it doesn't freeze, then you know that your plugin presentation settings file is fine and your user color scheme is fine. But something in your old settings was causing the problem. And so if the crashing or whatever it was stops happening, then you can just proceed with the new settings and you can just get rid of the backup folder. But if you're a Persona Sphere member, there's something very, very cool I want to show you. So I'm going to go back over to Studio One. And what you can do in Studio One is, I think it's in File. Is it in File? I have to remember where this is. Just bear with me just a minute. There you go, Backup and Restore. So it's under the Studio One menu. Not quite sure where it is on a Mac. I'm going to have to check. But if you go to Backup and Restore, this brings up this Backup and Restore dialog here. And what this does is this backs up anything that is checked here. So your program settings, your artist profile, external devices, mapping schemes, color schemes, recent files. These are grayed out because these are defaults and these will be backed up automatically. But you can choose plugin thumbnails, IO configurations, presets, templates, and macros. And if you select everything here, and then hit backup now, what this will do is this will create a backup into your PreSonus account. So if Studio One goes totally berserk and everything gets totally balked and is not working properly, if I just close that, you can go back to help, you can go into the settings folder, you can clear all of this out, just drain this folder. And then you can restart Studio One, and then you can go back to Studio One here, and in this here you can select one of your backups, like I've got one here dated 21st October 2021, and then you hit restore and it repopulates all of this information back into Studio One. So this is the equivalent of what I was suggesting earlier about making a backup for your desktop, except in this case you're backing up to your PreSonus instead. So if you're a PreSonus member, do this. I recommend you do this, you know, at least once or twice. Do this relatively regularly. Anytime you make a major change to Studio One that you are certain that you want to keep, for example, if you decide to change your color scheme and you decide you prefer this from your original color scheme and you save that as a preset, do a backup. That way it's dead easy to bring everything back in should something go wrong with your settings. This is a really, 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 really helpful feature. So make use of it because it's a goodie for sure. Yeah, export stems from song menu. Yes, that's what I recommend you do. So if I go back to Studio One again, if I go song, export stems, there are no stems here other than this one, but yeah, select all of these, select your destination, select your range, which is going to be, if you're doing the whole song, it's going to be between start and end marker, providing you've got those set correctly. Make sure all of this is set to the correct format. So if you're sending stems, you want to send waves. And then if they work in 48K, send them to them at 48K. If they work in 44.1, send them that. But, you know, whatever they work in, send them those. Okay? If you want to preserve mono tracks, have that checked. If you're using pipeline or any hardware synths, make sure that real-time processing is checked. It should be checked by default and grayed out, so you can't change it. Write tempo to audio files. This is important. If you have this checked, then what that means is that when the stems get picked up by whomever you're sending them to, it will have the tempo data written into the audio files. So, you know, it should be dead easy for them to be set with the correct tempo. Import to track is if you want to export the stems and then re-import them into your song. And then there's this overlap feature, which I pretty much never use, but it's there. So if you've got some events that are overlapping a little bit, then you can use this. All right, so that's what I would suggest. Let's see. Music Motion says, I'd like to thank everyone for helping with the fundraiser for Thomas's family. We've hit 90% of the goal today. That is freaking awesome to hear. So, it would be wonderful if in tonight's show we could do that last 10%. So if you are able to, if you are feeling generous and want to help a family in need that we care about, that I personally care about very much, then please do make a donation. Mike, if you could post the link one last time, that would be really, really helpful. And it's in the description below as well. Below this, when this live stream becomes a video, and you're watching this on the replay, the link to it is, well, it's not really a link. You have to copy and paste it because you can't do links in the description box for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, copy paste that link into your browser. Go and make a donation. Let's see if we can get it up to 100% of our target. That would be awesome. And thank you very, very much, everybody, for your generosity, for your kindness, and for your love for somebody who was a real vital contributor to our broad Personas community. He contributed a lot to my channel. He contributed a lot to Jonny Gibe's shows as well. And he was a good friend. And I will miss him quite a bit, I have to say. And, you know, the fact that he's not in the chat now, you know, is kind of having a bit more of an impact on me than I thought. But still, I personally would appreciate it very much if we could make that 100%. It would help them out a lot. It would help them not have the financial burdens and the financial pressures of trying to meet bills following his death. So your help would be greatly appreciated, everybody. Darren West is here. Awesome. Hey, Darren, good to see you. Glad you're here. All right, so let's see. Bops says, do you agree as to having a spun drive as a secondary backup for your DAW as well as an SSD? Having backups is essential. It is absolutely essential. If you take making music seriously, have backup drives. It is absolutely cast iron essential. I have my songs all written to a second internal drive. So I have a C drive and a D drive that are internal to this computer. Those are both solid state drives. And I have two mechanical hard drives as well. Both of them are actually, no, I tell a lie. One of them is a 7200 RPM. That's the one I recommend if you're using that as your main drive for your songs. If it's just a backup drive, the speed doesn't really matter too terribly much because you're only going to be archiving stuff over there. So I have a 2 terabyte hard drive that is a 7200, which I use for videos. That's basically where I save all of my videos so they're not taking up space on my C drive. And then I have a 5400 RPM hard drive that's a 4 terabyte archive drive. What I want to get, and I'm looking at this quite seriously now, is I want to get a 20 terabyte RAID configuration that I can have set up so it backs up to another drive within this configuration, and then that backs up to another, that backs up to another, that backs up to another, to a total of 20 terabytes. And that means I've always got a failsafe. So if one drive goes wrong, I know that everything is backed up on a second drive. And if that drive goes wrong, I know that everything is backed up on another drive, and so on and so forth. So I've always got a failsafe to make sure that everything is... Wow! Sorry, Mike's post just caught my attention as I was speaking. We just now hit 96%, so 4 more percent. 4 more percent. Can we do 4 more percent before this show ends? That would be awesome. If we could get to 100% before this show ends, that would be fan-flipping-tastic. Alex says, let's make it happen tonight. Only 4%. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make that last 4%, guys. That would be fantastic. That would be absolutely awesome. Thank you, Kyle. That's great advice. Look at Synology devices. Yes, I will certainly look into that. I am doing some relatively extensive research on what I want to get. But I think those are all mechanical drives. I don't know whether you can get a bunch of SSDs that will do that. I don't know whether that's a thing now. It might be. Let's see. Ken says, thank you. I never knew you could do that. It may be helpful to publish a short help video for everyone because I watch all S1 content and I don't believe anyone has done this. I think Gregor has done a video on backup and restore. But yes, I can certainly do one. It'll only take me a few minutes to do. It's dead easy. What about backing up to a cloud? You can do that. You can do that if you're archiving. I would never, ever, ever recommend that you store your songs on the cloud and then try running those songs in Studio One on the cloud. Don't do that. I know people that do. They basically put their songs on OneDrive or Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that, and then they try and open those songs from that location in Studio One. It is going to give you grief. It is going to give you problems. And the reason is that you are going to be attempting to read and write, stream back and forth from that virtual location. And it's going to be dependent upon internet speed. And frankly, internet speed is not going to cut it for real-time audio processing. It's just not going to be fast enough. And so what you'll end up with is you'll end up with dropped packets. You'll end up with data getting corrupted. You'll end up with Studio One crashing. You'll end up with bits of audio going missing. You'll get all sorts of problems with your sessions if you do that. And I've seen people do it and they get themselves into a massive tangle and they get very, very angry when it does that, and they make support tickets expressing their anger. And the root cause quite often is that they're trying to run their song from a virtual drive like Google Drive or OneDrive or something similar. And it's just a really, really bad idea. Don't do it. Just don't do it. If you're wanting to make sure your songs are not on your system drive, which to be honest, you shouldn't be doing, you should not be running your songs from your C drive, because you will create a bottleneck, because the C drive is meant to keep your operating system going and keep applications running. You don't want to be streaming real-time audio to and from that drive whilst it's trying to do those jobs. So that's how you'll get CPU spikes, you'll get dropouts, you'll get crackles and pops and all sorts. So the best way to run Studio One and just reduce down the errors and reduce down CPU loads and memory loads is to run your songs from either a 7200 RPM mechanical hard drive that is separate from all of your other drives, or from an SSD. But make sure it's a big SSD, like a 4 or 5 or 6 terabyte drive, so that you've got plenty of space. That is what I would recommend. So don't run your songs from a 5400 RPM drive. Too slow. You're going to get poor performance. You're going to get spikes. You're going to get performance meter spikes. You're going to get crackles. You're going to get dropouts. You're going to get pops, clicks. You're going to get all of those artifacts that you don't want. And changing the buffer settings in Studio One is not going to affect it, because the problem is your drive is too slow. If you're doing audio, it's got to be 7200 RPM. It's got to be separate from your system drive, or it's got to be an SSD that is not your system drive. So that is what I recommend, and we have it. We have 100% on PayPal. That is fantastic. I am so pleased. I am so pleased that we reached our target. That is incredible. You guys are a phenomenal bunch of people. You really are an absolutely phenomenal bunch of people. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm absolutely, as Mike just says there, he's overwhelmed, so am I. I am utterly overwhelmed at your generosity. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, folks, for what you've done for Thomas and his family. I'm pretty sure if Thomas were here right now, he would be thrilled. He probably wouldn't know what to say, I imagine. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he is thrilled, and he is happy to know that his family is being looked after by his friends and the Studio One and Personas community. So thank you so much, everybody. And it just goes to show that this community is so much bigger than a door. It's so much bigger than a door. You know, when I first got involved with Studio One, I thought I was just getting another DAW. I'd spent 30 years on Cubase and never really had that community vibe. I know that there is a community, that there is a Steinberg community, there's a Steinberg forum, there's Facebook groups and all of that. So I know that there is some kind of community for Steinberg, but I never really felt a part of it. I never really felt welcomed by it. And I never really felt encouraged to be involved. But I started getting involved with Personas and with Studio One in 2013. And this is like 9 years later, nearly 9 years later. And, you know, it's totally changed my life. I never thought when I purchased my first piece of Personas gear and I purchased Studio One, was it version 2.5? It was professional. I had no idea that what I was getting into was going to change my life, and it has, because I now work for Personas, the company that makes the products that I love. And I know all of you guys, and here I am sitting on a Sunday night at midnight till 1 a.m, and it's my favorite part of the weekend. This is my favorite part of the weekend, and that's because of you guys. You made this. And yeah, okay, I might not get 5,000 people in here, and the chat might not be going so fast I can hardly read it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that I haven't got 1 million subscribers. I don't care. I would like that. I'm not objecting, but I'm just saying, you guys collectively as a community have changed my life. And just seeing what you have done for this family, and what you did for Derek Jones's family, and what you did for Skip Jones when, and those guys are not related, but what you did for those guys when they died was terrific. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. And I knew that you guys would come together and you'd rally around the Melkerson family, and you've done that. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so very much. You guys truly love each other, and that's worth more than anything else. It really is. It's worth more than anything else. So I want to end the show with that. We've got 5 minutes left, but I want to end with that very much in the forefronts of your minds. Thank you so much. I'm stunned. Music to Motion says, using the Dropbox Smart Sync option does work fine. It keeps the local copy and a cloud copy on my studio drive. Never had an issue as long as there is a local copy as well as cloud. Yeah, that may well be true. But still, running your song from a virtual location is not a good idea. If you want to make a copy of the song and send and put it up into Dropbox for somebody else to work with you in, then that's a different story. And you know, they can open up that song in Studio One on their computer, and they can send an updated version of the song back, so you can work like that. But that's kind of a bit different. There are some people that when they start a Studio One brand new song, their destination, you know, if you go to file, and if you went to new song here, their destination here is OneDrive, or it's Dropbox, or it's Google Drive. So they're creating a new song and they are running it out of OneDrive. That is not a good idea, and I hope that none of you are doing that. If you are, you need to get a second drive and create a songs folder, and just select that destination. So in this case, I'm going to go to songs. Now I have several songs folders, as you can see, but that's because I have moved computers a fair few times. If I scroll down here, all the way down to S, look, oh look, there's another songs folder. Oh look, there's another one. And there's all these songs going back, like all the way back to 2014. That's a lot of stuff, and I've got like audiobooks and voiceovers and all sorts of stuff in here as well. But yeah, let's just cancel that. That's what I recommend you do. Yes, please do that, Michael. Launch a Zoom, absolutely. And he says, thank you, Jonny, for spreading the word like you have done. You're very welcome. Thomas was a good friend to everybody. And he was a good friend to me. He was always encouraging. He always, you know, had something good to say. And he always had some sound advice and things for me, which was always a nice thing to have from him. And he was a good laugh on the after show Zoom, like, you know, we're going to do tonight. But he was a great laugh for sure. And we're all going to miss him, I think. Let's see. Should VST instruments be on their own hard drive as well? You can do. Again, make sure that the drive is fast enough to run with a good latency. So again, it needs to be a 7200 RPM drive, or it needs to be a solid state drive. For example, you can get the Native Instruments Complete, what is it, 13 or 14 now, I think it is. You can get the whole thing on a flipping hard drive, which they send you, and then you just plug that in. You plug that into your computer and it runs everything off of that hard drive. You can do that, and you just basically set that up in Studio One to do that. So yes, you can do that, because, you know, things like orchestral libraries and sample libraries, they take up a massive ton of hard drive space. Don't recommend you have those on your system drive. Put them out to a secondary drive for sure. Let's just go over here now. But yeah, that's a good question though. Downer says, great advice about the hard drives. Is that still the best case if your computer only has USB 2? And also your VST. Yeah, if you've got USB, here's the thing. If you've got USB 2, even if the hard drive is a USB 3 device, it's backwards compatible with USB 2. So you'll be fine. Don't worry about it, because it's the speed of the drive that's the most important thing in this particular case. Sean says another great option for cloud backup is Backblaze. I've heard of that actually. It's $6 a month and backs up not only your computer but any connected drives as well with unlimited storage. That sounds like another good option If you want to back up and archive your entire computer, that's a good way to do it. And then, of course, if your computer totally dies and you have to, reinstall Windows and reformat everything, then you can just quickly go and download everything from that location. It's a great thing to do. Definitely recommend doing that. I also recommend make a disk image. Make a disk image of your system drive. That's another good thing to do. Just in case you have a hard drive failure and you need to mount a new disk, you can load that image onto that disk, and that will save you some time. All right, we are going to end it there, folks. Thank you very, very, very much. And by the way, the music you were listening to at the start of the show is the old Songwriting Simplified theme tune music that we had way back right at the very start when we started doing it. And I basically just dug it up out of nothing earlier today, and I thought, hey, it'd be fun if we played that again. So there you go. Thanks everybody for coming, and I will see you over on the Zoom call. Please do come and join us if you're up for it. Music to Motion has put up the Zoom link. They're great fun. I will be there for a little while whilst I finish my cup of tea. And then I'm going to bed because I have work tomorrow. So back to my day job at Presonus. But otherwise, until then, folks, I bid you a very good night, and thank you once again so very much for your support for Thomas Melkerson's family. I appreciate it more than you know. Good night, everybody.